Trevor Lawrence had another big day. The Clemson defense did really well. And surprise, surprise, Trevor Lawrence has found the deep ball. You know, we kind of said, where was it last week? Well, there it is. And he found it by way of Frank Ladson Jr. Really nice to see him. Pro Football Focus put him as a player on the team of the week. So congratulations there to Mr. Ladson Jr. and Trevor Lawrence, Brian Brzee, Pro Football Focus National Player of the Week. Those two guys on there for their work so far in college football. Really, really awesome. And a lot of people are saying in chat, what happened to Joseph Ngata, his right-hand man, the number 2 guy, the number 1 guy, I guess you could say, the guy that was supposed to be in place of Justin Ross? Well, he tweaked his ab, I believe, right before the game or leading up into the game, so they decided to hold him out, or at least I think he might have played 1 series. Some people say he was out there for 1 or 2 series, and then he kind of tweaked something and walked away. So understandable there that you don't want to, risk any further injury to a player, especially in a game where you're probably going to win for sure anyways. But it was really good to see a lot of these new guys out there getting a lot of time. A little bit of a concern though too, because no scores in the third quarter or fourth quarter. So a lot of fans out there said, where are the points? Where are the points? 49-0 is not enough. We need more. And they weren't there after halftime. So, was it a concern? Was it not? We'll get into it, but I want to tell you, let's go round table real quick. Offensive player of the game, defensive player of the game. I'm going to go ahead and say the guy I already mentioned, Frank Ladson Jr., 3 receptions, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, big-time passes for sure, deep passes from Trevor Lawrence. And then I'm also going to say Myles Murphy on defense with the forced fumble that James Skalski scooped and scored for a touchdown. But really, it all started with Big 98 there, who's making his presence known early. A lot of people over in the forums online saying that Myles Murphy could be one of the best freshmen that Clemson's ever had. And I know it's week 2. It's hard to kind of give that label out there. You don't want to jinx him, but I think this guy can handle it. And then I want to give an honorable mention to Greg Williams. 4 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Freshman from Sewanee, Georgia. Good job there, Greg. We really appreciate it for your hard work there. Like I said, you get some good freshmen out there, get some of their experience, and that's what Clemson does so well. That's why I believe they have such good depth going into championship phase, early December and late December and on. All right, so Al, I think he's already mad with me, so I'll let you vent your frustration now.
I am mad with you. I hated you before that. I really hate you now. Okay. First of all, you're right. I'll give you what you did right. Okay. You are correct. Frank Ladson's the guy to go to for offensive player of the game. That's who I picked as well. He had, I think, 3 receptions, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. I liked his first touchdown was incredible. Okay. Lawrence threw a rope over the middle, and the defender was draped all over Lads. It was good. It was good coverage. He wasn't pass interference or anything like that. He was just in the perfect spot. And I think he even got that hand on the ball. Ladson did a good job of not only extending his arms, but extending them forward towards the ball. It was an incredible catch, and incredible concentration required to make that catch. I was very proud of that moment. A little disappointed on the deep ball that he caught. He looked like he juggled it about 3 times before he actually got it under control. So he's going to have to do better than that, because if a DB's on him, they're going to swat that out. So we're going to give him credit for those 2 touchdowns. And it's good to see. It's good to see somebody take the top off the defense. We've needed to see that for a while. Still didn't get to see my jump ball to Ngata like I wanted to. So I'm still waiting on that. I want to see somebody out there that can go up and make a play, even if they're covered, even if they're double covered. I want somebody to get the jump ball like a Higgins would have. I want to see that from this Clemson offense going forward. They haven't had to yet. No big deal. But yeah, I took Frank Ladson as well. On defense, I thought I was going to shock the world. And pick Greg Williams. And you had to go in and throw your stupid honorable mention in. Okay, just keep your mouth shut, do offense and defense, and leave it alone. Let everybody else get their moment in the sunshine, but you had to steal it. Okay? Greg Williams, I swear, I was watching this game, especially in the second half, and number 40 was running around. I'm like, who is number 40? Because this he's made a couple plays. What's going on? He's almost making another big play. I was like, it's Greg Williams. It's Greg Williams, the guy we brought in at linebacker, who they thought would grow into a defensive end. He is a defensive end right now. He was all over the place. I thought he looked really good. We had several look good on defense, though. Goodness gracious, we gave up 0 points. Okay. Of course, Brzee looked pretty good. He was pretty disruptive. Myles Murphy looked incredible. Skalski looked really good. He was kind of, getting in there really hard, which is what Skalski does. and Greg Williams looked great. I saw Trenton Simpson got a nice sack there. He looked good coming off the edge. Of course, he wasn't really blocked, but hey, that's what we want to see. We want to see him coming in hard and ready to destroy somebody. That's what he did. So yeah, it's looking good. The depth is looking good on the defense. We are there. We're ready to wreak havoc the rest of this year for sure. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, we'll talk about the offense and what they need to do in the second half. The backups. There's a lot of backups, no points. The offense just didn't find a good rhythm there. So it's a little frustrating, but again, I'm certainly not hitting the panic button by any means.
And, to go back to Trenton Simpson, as you mentioned, saw some pictures of his mom there with his jersey on, cheering him on. So, when mama's there and it's the first game of your collegiate career, first home game, rather, of your collegiate career, you want to put on a little show. So good job, Trenton, there for putting on a show for mom.
Yeah, and for my offensive player of the game, I'll be different than everybody than Frank Ladson. Frank Ladson certainly deserves it, but I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence, 8 of 9. And right now, his completion percentage on the year is currently at 81.9%, I believe. That's unreal. It's unreal. Heisman high. This is the best chance in our lifetimes of seeing a Heisman Trophy winner in Clemson. Trevor's for real. He's going to win the Heisman. He deserves the player of the game because he was just throwing darts all over the field. And it's kind of crazy to see Trevor make this progression from an already outstanding quarterback to someone who's making consistent reads. You can tell that he's reading all of his options, and he's hitting open men every single time. It's not just the deep ball. It's the intermediate throw. It's spectacular, and he just continues to amaze me. I almost, for the defensive player of the game, wanted to give Baby Venables, Tyler Venables, the player of the game for getting a pick, but he just was one step out of bounds, unfortunately. So I'll go with Myles Murphy. Look, Myles Murphy looks like a bigger version of Clelin Ferrell. He's got like a Clelin Ferrell vibe to him, but bigger. And that's crazy to say. And then with Greg, I honest to God had a moment during the game when I saw Greg Williams and I go, wait, what's Andre Branch doing out on the field? Exactly. I was like, what's Andre Branch doing out here? And I was like, wait a minute. Whoa. So I'll have to pick one person. That's Myles Murphy, but the defense just looks outstanding. It looks just outstanding.
And, Clemson has a bye week this week, early season bye week, and you don't get to see the Tigers, but you do get to see a lot of the SEC, and we're going to talk about a couple of those games. Not all the games like we normally do, just too many games, really, and all the SEC teams are ranked, it seems like, so because of the shortened season or the shortened league, it was just going to be too much to kind of squeak in before 10 o'clock. But we wanted to give you kind of our top 5 and then the ACC, as we always do. Another thing is, so after the bye week, then it's already come out and said that Clemson's going to play Virginia at 8 p.m., and that's a home game. UVA actually hasn't played a game because they've had so many issues going on so far. They had to move back the Commonwealth game later on in the year, mid-December now is going to be that game. But they have to play Duke this weekend. So hopefully they get in and kind of see what they can do, get a little sneak peek, a little scouting report on Virginia versus Duke there. For me, if you look at Duke, they seem to do decent or hold their own a little bit better than BC. And if you look at the stat sheet, it's, in my opinion, because Duke is better at stopping the run than they are at stopping the pass. Because BC was able to pass, Notre Dame really wasn't not a passing team, and so it was a little bit harder for Notre Dame to get things rolling. Duke seems to be more successful, I guess, against the run, is what I'm trying to say. So we'll see what UVA can do because they have Terrell Jana, they have their new quarterback now, and we'll see what they can do, but. What do they have in the running game? We don't really know. They do have a power back. I'm not even going to try to attempt to say his name off the cuff. I didn't even write it down, but we'll see. 4 p.m. this weekend, Virginia versus Duke. And again, kind of the elephant in the room, the question, at least, there's not a lot of questions when you come from the Citadel game because we know that the game got out of hand very quickly. At halftime, Dabo Swinney offered to continue to run the clock, and the head coach of Citadel said, no way, I'm going to just keep playing like normal. So Clemson didn't score in the fourth quarter against Wake Forest, didn't score in the fourth quarter against the Citadel. offensive line on the second team we knew is young. Is it the offensive line that can't get the running game going is why they can't really kind of move late game? Is it because they're just kind of slowing everything down and going to a real base offense? Is it even anything to even really kind of worry about or even discuss? Al, what you got?
Yeah, I think it's a little of both. I think it's the offensive line, and I think it's the playbook. Then that's very typical of Clemson. Everybody is so excited to see the backup quarterback come in the late game. I understand Clemson, did get DJ in there a little bit earlier, but in typical games, they're coming in at the end in garbage time. Everybody's so excited, can't wait to see what this kid can do, and they're just turning around and handing the ball off. Okay, that's what Clemson does. They did get to run a little bit more of the offense here. Obviously, they had a little more time to work with. They wanted to see what they could do, but again, they're playing with backups on the offensive line, and they are very young, very inexperienced. Most of them would probably be redshirting. In fact, except for we just have no depth on the offensive line. This is one of the years we have no depth there. Period. So a lot of them have to play. And so I'm not going to say it's concerning. It's really not to me, because if you can plug one or two of those guys in here, let's say God forbid there's some kind of injury or something like that, you plug one of the, a couple of those guys in on the first team. I don't think you're going to see a big drop off or anything like that. Unless your entire starting offense is hurt, I think you're going to be okay. So no, it's going to be great experience for them. It's going to pay huge dividends down the road, whether it be down the road this season or whether we're moving into next year. It's going to pay off for Clemson as it usually does.
Well, part of the things for me is I think it's good that they played a ton of guys in the third and fourth quarter in both games, regardless of whether they scored or not. You don't know who's going to have to step in because of COVID. Now, they haven't had any positive tests or contact tracing or anything like that. Clemson's been very, very fortunate in that regard since the beginning of the season. I would say this, as they integrated the second, first and second string, second to third string, they started doing that in the second quarter. DJ looked impressive. I thought he had a lot of pop, a lot of flash in what he was doing. A lot of our running backs who got playing time had moments where they looked good. And I think the second string offensive line had moments where they looked good as well. I think a lot of it was they didn't want to run up the score. They didn't want to really throw too much. It's a Citadel. Let's just sit on this and get through the game. I say it's almost like the first 2 weeks of preseason. Like I know Wake Forest is a conference opponent, but you can honestly treat these first 2 weeks like preseason games, get a lot of reps in for a lot of guys, and get ready for the stretch run starting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it, and again, like I said, it's not really something, we're not even really complaining. It's just something that I kind of saw out there on social media saying, what's going on with Clemson in the fourth quarter? Really, it goes back to the fact that, these guys are just learning each other. I mean, the quarterback's learning the running back and the, how they interact and the playbook, and then offensive line, after the first string, that second string, third string are trying to figure out what is going on with, standing side by side and shoulder to shoulder, things like that. So